The night opens slowly, like a curtain being drawn back to reveal a sky that has always been there, always watching, yet never fully understood. As you settle into the quiet of this moment, let your mind drift upward, toward the calm, dark canvas where stars shimmer with a soft, distant patience. The world below grows dimmer, quieter, softer, and your thoughts begin to stretch into the vast space above. There is something comforting about the night sky, something ancient, something shared by every generation that has ever looked up and wondered what lies beyond the familiar. As your breathing slows, you begin to feel the same sense of curiosity that guided early humans, long before rockets or telescopes, when the heavens felt impossibly far yet mysteriously intimate. For as long as we have existed, we have gazed into this same celestial darkness and tried to interpret the lights moving across it. Long before the word UFO entered our vocabulary, people watched the stars for signs, omens, or messages. Even when their interpretations were shaped by myth or fear or faith, their feelings were often the same ones we experience today: awe, curiosity, and a subtle reminder that our world is just one part of something much larger. Historians often note that ancient civilizations didn't simply see the sky as a physical realm. They saw it as a bridge to the unknown, a place where gods, ancestors, and cosmic travelers moved freely. And now, centuries later, under the same constellations, you are joining that long line of quiet observers. As you lie still, imagine those ancient nights. Imagine early travelers resting by a fading fire, listening to the wind as they tilted their heads upward. Imagine sailors navigating by starlight and wondering about strange moving or shimmering lights above the ocean. Their tools were fewer, their explanations limited, and yet their sense of wonder mirrored our own. When a star flickered unusually, or when a glowing object crossed the sky in silence, it wasn't just a sight, it was an invitation to question. These early experiences formed the foundation of humanity's relationship with the unknown, shaping our earliest stories about beings descending from the sky or mysterious lights, guiding or warning entire communities. Although we live in a world filled with science and technology, that ancient feeling hasn't left us. The mystery hasn't gone away. If anything, it has grown more intricate. Now we have satellites, aircraft, drones, and global tracking systems. And yet the sky remains a place where the unexplainable continues to appear. This duality of knowledge and mystery coexisting creates a certain quiet excitement in our minds. Even when we think we understand the mechanics of the world, a single strange light can reopen the old questions. What else is out there? What has been watching us, or passing above us, unnoticed? What stories could the sky tell if we knew how to listen? There is a unique calmness in accepting that some mysteries are not meant to be solved immediately. In the stillness of night, it becomes easier to relax into the unknown rather than try to conquer it. The sky becomes not a puzzle, but a gentle companion. And as you breathe a little more deeply, letting your thoughts loosen, you may feel a quiet connection to every human who has ever sat under this same sky, wondering about objects that moved in ways they couldn't explain. Some described glowing spheres, others saw bright disks. Still others witnessed shapes that defied the technology of their time. Their hearts would race for a moment before easing again into curiosity, much like yours might now. What makes this mystery so enduring is not fear, but fascination. Even official investigations throughout history, carried out by soldiers, scientists, and trained observers, have reported moments when the sky behaved in ways that didn't match any known explanation. These documented cases remind us that the unknown is not just a product of imagination or myth, but something woven into the fabric of human experience. And with each passing decade, as our ability to observe the sky improves, so does the complexity of the anomalies we witness. Yet the emotional response remains surprisingly constant, a blend of calm wonder and respectful uncertainty. Tonight, as the world quiets and your body settles deeper into rest, imagine yourself floating gently above the familiar landscapes of your day. Picture cities dimming, forests deepening into shadow, oceans reflecting moonlight in long, shimmering trails. Above it all, you drift weightlessly, unhurried, free to observe the sky from a vantage point few ever experience. You don't need answers right now. You only need to feel the presence of the mystery. Let the thought of distant galaxies and unseen travelers soothe you rather than stir you. Let the enormity of the cosmos make your worries feel small, manageable, temporary. In this peaceful state, the idea of unidentified craft becomes less about fear and more about the vastness of possibility. Perhaps these objects are natural phenomena we have yet to understand. Perhaps they are advanced technologies from distant civilizations. Or perhaps they are clues to aspects of reality we have only begun to imagine. Whatever the truth may be, it exists out there, somewhere in the quiet spaces between the stars, waiting patiently. And as you rest beneath that endless sky, you are part of the same story, one of curiosity, exploration, and the timeless human desire to understand what lies beyond our reach. Allow yourself now to drift even deeper, letting the night sky hold you gently. The mystery is there, but it is soft, reassuring, timeless. And you are exactly where you need to be, safe, relaxed, and ready to follow this story into the deeper layers of the unknown. Long before modern science, satellites, and high-resolution cameras, the sky was a theater of mysteries that ancient people watched with both fear and reverence. As you settle into this calm narrative, imagine a world without artificial light, where the sky was deeper, darker, and endlessly alive. Every unusual glow, every wandering spark, every silent shape drifting across the stars took on a significance that shaped entire cultures. Civilizations that never met one another, separated by oceans, mountains, and centuries, recorded encounters with strange aerial phenomena that today resemble the types of UFO sightings people still report. These early observers lacked the language we use today, but their descriptions offer surprising consistency. They saw shimmering disks, glowing wheels, fiery spheres, and objects that moved with intentionality, leaving behind stories that would echo across generations. Consider the Roman historian Pliny the Elder, who described shields of fire crossing the sky, glowing brightly before vanishing. To Roman soldiers trained to assess threats from the ground, these sightings were unsettling because they didn't behave like natural celestial events. Their movements seemed deliberate, their shapes crafted rather than chaotic, leading commanders to wonder whether they were divine signals or messages from forces beyond the empire's borders. In medieval Europe, monks chronicled visions of flying wheels or radiant orbs gliding silently over fields and villages. These accounts were often written during periods of war, famine, or societal stress, times when the sky became a canvas upon which people projected their hopes and fears. Yet the descriptions themselves maintained a distinctly physical quality, suggesting that witnesses believed they had observed real objects, not dreamlike visions. Travel even further back in time, and you find similar stories scattered across the world. Ancient Chinese texts describe long dragons of light drifting across the sky in silence, sometimes hovering for hours. While poetic in phrasing, such records often noted precise locations, durations, and colors, implying careful observation. In the deserts of the Middle East, early astronomers documented luminous phenomena that could not be classified as comets or stars, including objects that changed direction abruptly or glowed intensely before fading. Indigenous cultures in the Americas carved symbols resembling discs, spirals, and glowing visitors descending from the heavens. Some tribes spoke of sky beings who traveled in round lodges of light. Whether interpreted spiritually or literally, these accounts underscore a global pattern. Humans across all continents believed they were witnessing something extraordinary in the night sky. Historians today view many of these early stories as cultural reflections of the scientific limitations of the time. Without knowledge of atmospheric optics or cosmic events, people interpreted what they saw through the lenses of religion, mythology, or tribal tradition. A glowing orb might have been seen as a messenger, a god, or an omen meant to guide or warn. Yet even with these spiritual frameworks, the physical descriptions often align closely with modern sightings. Smooth circular shapes, bright hovering lights, sudden bursts of movement, traits that continue to puzzle observers today, were already being recorded thousands of years ago. This continuity invites us to consider whether the unknown phenomena we see now are part of a much older pattern, woven into humanity's long relationship with the sky. Psychologists studying these ancient accounts point out something fascinating. While belief systems varied widely, the core human response remained the same. People felt a blend of awe, fear, curiosity, and a deep sense of witnessing something beyond normal experience. These emotional reactions are nearly universal across cultures and eras, suggesting that the mysterious nature of aerial sightings taps into fundamental aspects of the human mind. Our brains are wired to search for meaning in unfamiliar stimuli, especially in environments like the night sky, where depth and scale can distort perception. Yet despite these psychological tendencies, not all sightings can be attributed to misinterpretation. The consistency of certain shapes and behaviors across continents hints at phenomena that defied scientific understanding, even by ancient standards. As civilizations grew more sophisticated, so did their attempts to explain the sky. Ancient astronomers in Babylon, Greece, and India developed systems for tracking celestial bodies with surprising accuracy. They distinguished between planets, stars, comets, and atmospheric events. This makes their reports of inexplicable objects even more compelling. When an early astronomer accustomed to predictable star patterns wrote about a metallic-looking sphere or a luminous disk that moved against the natural flow of the heavens, it suggests not superstition, but genuine observational conflict. Their knowledge allowed them to identify the ordinary, making the extraordinary stand out even more sharply. These ancient mysteries were not isolated curiosities. They shaped cultural beliefs and influenced societal decisions. Kings consulted advisors about unusual sky events before going to war. Farmers interpreted strange lights as signs of coming weather changes or divine favor. Entire rituals were created to honor or appease perceived sky visitors. Some civilizations believed these aerial manifestations were the movements of gods, while others thought they were ancestors watching over the living. Even in societies with no shared language, similar patterns emerged. Circles, disks, glowing forms, silent movements, and sudden disappearances into the night. The sky, universal and unchanging, served as a shared stage for these encounters. Today, when researchers revisit these historical accounts, they often find themselves surprised by the level of detail. Although wrapped in the symbolic language of ancient times, many descriptions parallel modern sightings so closely that they challenge simple explanations. Were these illusions, atmospheric anomalies, or early encounters with phenomena still unexplained? The answer remains open, stretching across centuries of human curiosity. As you breathe slowly and drift deeper into this calm narrative, imagine these long-ago moments once more. A Roman soldier pausing mid-march to watch a glowing disk above the horizon. A monk waking before dawn to see a radiant wheel floating over a silent field. A coastal fisherman staring upward at a luminous sphere that reflected on the dark water. Their world was quieter, darker, more connected to the rhythms of nature, and their experiences carry a quiet authenticity. They remind us that the mystery of the sky is not modern. It is ancient, continuous, and still unfolding. And just as they once looked upward in wonder, tonight you share the same timeless curiosity beneath the very same stars. The shift from ancient sky mysteries to the modern UFO era did not happen slowly. It arrived like a spark, igniting global curiosity almost overnight. As the world entered the 20th century, air travel, radar systems, and new military technologies transformed the way people understood the sky. Suddenly, humans were no longer just observers. They were participants in the aerial domain. Yet this new familiarity with airplanes and blimps did something unexpected. It made the unknown stand out even more sharply. People could now distinguish between conventional aircraft and objects that defied logic, speed, and behavior. The sky became a space for innovation, but it also became a canvas for an entirely new category of unexplained phenomena. And as nations raced to develop advanced aviation, sightings of strange craft increased, blending mystery with geopolitics, science, and fear. The modern UFO era is often traced back to one pivotal moment, June 24, 1947, when pilot Kenneth Arnold reported seeing a series of bright, disc-like objects near Washington's Mount Rainier. His description, objects that skipped like saucers on water, was misinterpreted by reporters, leading to the birth of the iconic term flying saucer. Within days, newspapers around the world spread the story, and countless new reports flooded in. For many historians, this event marked the true beginning of widespread public attention to UFO craft. Arnold's sighting carried weight not because it was the first of its kind, but because it came from a trained pilot at a time when aviation was becoming a symbol of national strength. His credibility made it harder for officials to dismiss the incident and easier for the public to believe they were witnessing a new type of technology, one that did not belong to any known country. The timing of this phenomenon was no coincidence. The late 1940s were dominated by Cold War tensions, nuclear weapons development, and rapid advances in radar tracking. Governments were constantly monitoring the sky for potential threats, making them far more aware of unusual aerial activity. Military personnel began reporting fast-moving craft that did not match the capabilities of contemporary aircraft. Radar operators observed objects that changed direction abruptly or accelerated beyond known limits. The growing number of reports forced authorities to take the phenomenon seriously, even if they did not publicly acknowledge it. Classified memos from this era often reveal cautious interest, an acknowledgement that something unexplained was happening, but without clear conclusions. This uncertainty created the perfect environment for public speculation and heightened mystery. As sightings increased, the U.S. government launched several official investigations. One of the earliest, Project Sign in 1948, aimed to determine whether these objects were advanced Soviet aircraft or something entirely unknown. Early drafts of the project reportedly proposed the possibility of extraterrestrial origins, but such conclusions were quickly softened or dismissed by higher authorities. Sign evolved into Project Grudge, which took a more skeptical stance, and eventually into the better-known Project Blue Book. Across these investigations, thousands of sightings were analyzed. Many were explained: balloons, aircraft, atmospheric distortions, but a significant minority remained unresolved. These unexplained cases often involve trained observers, multiple witnesses, or corroborating radar data, lending them an air of credibility that fueled further public curiosity. In the background of these investigations, the media played a powerful role in shaping public perception. Newspapers alternated between serious reporting and sensational headlines, blending legitimate concerns with dramatic storytelling. Magazine articles speculated about secret weapons, alien visitors, or unknown atmospheric phenomena. Films of the 1950s portrayed flying saucers as symbols of both hope and fear, representing either advanced civilizations or potential threats. This cultural environment made UFO sightings feel more real, more immediate, and more culturally significant than similar mysteries in earlier centuries. The sky was no longer just a natural space. It was a strategic frontier, watched carefully by governments and imagined vividly by everyday people. Yet despite all this attention, the phenomenon refused to conform to any simple explanation. Eyewitnesses described craft that varied widely in shape: discs, triangles, cylinders, and glowing spheres. Many sightings featured unusual flight characteristics: silent hovering, instant acceleration, or right-angle turns that should have been impossible according to known physics. These details were particularly troubling for military analysts, who needed to identify potential threats with precision. The possibility that another nation possessed technology far more advanced than the West raised serious concerns. But the idea that these craft originated from beyond Earth carried a different kind of unease, a mystery that exceeded political boundaries and technological competition. At the same time, skeptics argued that mass sightings were influenced by Cold War anxieties, media coverage, or misidentified experimental aircraft. Some scientists proposed atmospheric explanations, such as temperature inversions or unusual cloud formations. Others pointed to psychological factors, the human tendency to interpret ambiguous stimuli in ways consistent with cultural expectations. But even among skeptics, certain cases remained impossible to explain fully. These exceptions kept the debate alive and prevented the phenomenon from being comfortably dismissed. As you relax into this unfolding history, imagine the atmosphere of the mid-20th century. The hum of new engines across the sky, the glow of radar screens deep in military bunkers, the tension of nations watching one another with suspicion. People were learning to understand the sky through the lens of technology, yet the sky itself continued to behave unpredictably. Strange lights, unusual craft, and unexplained movements persisted, becoming a quiet thread woven into the modern world. By the end of the century's first half, one thing had become clear. The mystery that had been with humanity since ancient times had not vanished in the age of science. It had simply evolved, adapting to new tools, new fears, and new possibilities. The modern UFO phenomenon was not just a collection of sightings. It was a mirror reflecting the hopes, anxieties, and unanswered questions of a rapidly changing world. And as the decades moved forward, the mystery deepened, setting the stage for some of the most iconic and compelling craft reports in the years to come. Among the many shapes reported in modern UFO sightings, the disc or saucer remains the most iconic, its image etched deeply into popular consciousness. Yet beneath its cultural familiarity lies a complex history of observation, speculation, and careful documentation. In the years following Kenneth Arnold's 1947 sighting, disc-shaped craft became a recurring motif in reports across the globe. Pilots, civilians, and even trained military personnel described objects that were round or slightly domed, often metallic in appearance, glinting in sunlight or glowing with an unearthly radiance. Witnesses consistently noted characteristics that distinguished these objects from airplanes or balloons: sudden acceleration, near-silent movement, and the ability to hover or maneuver in ways that defied known aerodynamics. For many observers, these qualities made the craft simultaneously fascinating and unnerving, a paradox that continues to intrigue researchers today. Historians often point out that the prominence of the disc shape in media may have reinforced a feedback loop in public perception. Early newspaper illustrations exaggerated the curved, shiny form, while magazines and later films repeatedly depicted round, spinning objects gliding across the sky. Psychologists note that this repetition can influence memory recall, encouraging witnesses to describe objects in familiar terms even when details vary. However, careful analysis of the original sighting reports reveals a remarkable consistency. The disc or saucer was not merely a product of artistic imagination, but a shape that recurred independently in multiple countries and decades. This raises intriguing questions about why human observers frequently perceive unidentified aerial objects in this specific form, and whether the shape itself offers functional advantages for whatever technology might be involved. Military and scientific documentation adds further weight to the credibility of these sightings. Reports from radar stations occasionally corroborated visual observations, registering objects performing sudden turns, stops, and accelerations that conventional aircraft could not achieve. In some cases, multiple witnesses observed the same craft from different vantage points, confirming its presence in the sky for extended periods. Aviation experts have often remarked that the consistency in movement patterns, smooth, precise, and defying gravity-based limitations, sets disc sightings apart from optical illusions or atmospheric phenomena. Such accounts create a bridge between the anecdotal and the empirical, enhancing the realism of the phenomenon while maintaining its sense of mystery. The cultural impact of the disc-shaped craft is also significant. By the 1950s, flying saucers became a recurring symbol in Cold War-era media, often representing advanced technology or extraterrestrial intelligence. Films and literature depicted these objects as silent, powerful, and often capable of extraordinary feats. Sociologists argue that these representations both reflected and shaped collective anxieties. The Cold War, nuclear proliferation, and the rapid advancement of aviation technologies all contributed to a sense that humanity was confronting forces beyond its control. In this way, the disc became more than just a shape. It was a vessel for societal hopes, fears, and imagination, merging the physical and the psychological into a single, enduring symbol. Eyewitness psychology adds another layer of understanding. Observing an object at a distance, especially under low-light conditions, can distort perception of size, speed, and shape. Yet the repeated reports of saucer-like craft by trained pilots, multiple observers, and even ground-based radar operators suggest that these descriptions are not solely the result of misperception. The disc shape appears in situations where accuracy and observation matter, lending credibility to the accounts. Researchers also note that the simplicity of the circular form makes it easier to remember and report accurately, which could explain why it is consistently referenced across decades and continents. The shape itself seems to resonate both with human perception and with the potential physics of aerial craft. Examining individual reports reveals astonishing details. Some witnesses described discs that could hover silently above fields for several minutes, then suddenly accelerate out of sight. Others reported craft performing sharp, angular turns, or descending and ascending almost instantly. In certain documented cases, nearby instruments, including compasses and engines, were affected, suggesting an interaction beyond ordinary physical disturbance. Historians and researchers have debated these occurrences for decades, often noting that while some could be explained as misidentified aircraft, balloons, or celestial objects, many remain unresolved. The unresolved cases are particularly compelling because they combine consistent shape, unusual movement, and credible observation into a single, repeatable phenomenon. From a technological perspective, the disc shape has certain theoretical advantages. Engineers speculate that circular designs could facilitate multi-directional thrust, allowing hovering, rapid acceleration, and abrupt directional changes. Whether this is relevant to reported craft or merely coincidental is unknown, but it aligns intriguingly with eyewitness descriptions. Some theorists suggest that these objects may represent either highly advanced terrestrial experiments or technologies beyond our current understanding. Others propose that the consistency of reports hints at patterns that are observable across both space and time, possibly suggesting intelligent control rather than random natural occurrence. Despite decades of investigation, the disc remains one of the most enigmatic yet enduring symbols of aerial mystery. It bridges ancient fascination with modern technology, folklore with formal observation, and imagination with rigorous documentation. The more researchers study the phenomenon, the more its persistence defies simple categorization. For those lying quietly beneath the night sky, the disc-shaped craft offers both reassurance and intrigue, a familiar silhouette that carries with it centuries of human wonder, a mystery simultaneously grounded in observation and elevated by imagination. As you breathe slowly and drift deeper into the calm night, you can imagine a silver disc hovering silently above, a timeless presence reminding us that some mysteries endure not to frighten, but to invite reflection and quiet contemplation. Among the various shapes and forms of UFO sightings, the triangular and black craft are some of the most perplexing and haunting. These sightings are often marked by their immense size, the unsettling silence of their movement, and the near-total absence of visible propulsion systems. Unlike the familiar flying saucer, the triangular craft tends to defy both conventional and extraterrestrial explanations, presenting a puzzle that refuses to be easily categorized. Perhaps what makes the triangle so striking is its sheer scale and the unearthly stillness with which it is reported to move, large, black, and often ominously silent. It hovers in ways that challenge our understanding of flight. Such sightings are often described by multiple witnesses simultaneously, adding a layer of credibility to their accounts. One of the most notable series of sightings occurred during the Belgian UFO wave of 1989 to 1990, when multiple people reported seeing large, triangular craft floating in the skies over Belgium. These craft, sometimes described as having lights at the corners, were seen by police officers, military personnel, and civilians alike. The sheer consistency of these reports, coming from trained observers and confirmed by radar, makes the Belgian wave one of the most famous and studied instances of triangular UFOs. What sets these reports apart is not just the fact that numerous people witnessed the same phenomena, but also that the craft exhibited flight characteristics that were far beyond the capabilities of contemporary aircraft. They hovered with an eerie stillness, only to accelerate at unimaginable speeds, disappearing in the blink of an eye. At first glance, skeptics might suggest that these sightings were a case of mass hysteria or misidentification of conventional aircraft. However, radar data from both the civilian and military sectors corroborated the accounts, confirming that something unknown was indeed present in the skies. This brought the triangular UFO into sharper focus, propelling it into a central role in the wider UFO narrative. The question then becomes, what kind of technology could account for these incredible feats of flight? Could these craft be of human origin? And if so, what nation possesses such advanced capabilities? Or are they, as some suggest, something more otherworldly, operating by principles of physics that remain a mystery to us? The theories surrounding these triangular craft are as varied as the sightings themselves. Some researchers propose that these objects might be experimental aircraft developed by a secret military program, perhaps a top-secret black project related to stealth technology. The triangular shape could potentially offer advantages in terms of radar evasion and atmospheric maneuverability. Certain proponents of this theory argue that the design is closely related to the rumored TR-3B, a purported black-budget aircraft said to be capable of anti-gravity flight. Yet, despite the many sightings of triangular UFOs, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to verify the existence of such aircraft. And the speed and agility with which these craft are reported to move make the experimental aircraft theory more difficult to accept for some. An alternative explanation comes from the realm of physics, suggesting that these objects may be capable of generating their own gravitational field, allowing them to defy the normal principles of aerodynamics. Such theories point to phenomena like anti-gravity or electromagnetic propulsion, technologies that remain theoretical in mainstream science, but have garnered serious attention from fringe researchers. According to some, the ability to generate a stable gravitational field could explain the apparent weightlessness of these craft, allowing them to hover silently in the sky, move with incredible precision, and accelerate to incredible speeds without the usual effects of inertia or friction. While these ideas remain speculative, the lack of conventional explanations has made them particularly appealing to those who view UFO sightings as evidence of advanced technology from beyond Earth. Psychologically, the triangular craft evoke a deeper, almost primal reaction. The sight of a massive, silent object floating in the night sky can trigger feelings of both awe and fear. The triangle, often depicted as dark and menacing, seems to exude a sense of foreboding. Perhaps it is the stark, angular shape that contrasts with the more fluid, organic forms we are used to seeing in nature. The overwhelming silence of these craft further amplifies their eerie presence, as it suggests a level of control or mastery over the environment that we cannot yet comprehend. For those who have encountered them, these craft are not simply unidentified objects. They are profound symbols of the unknown, embodying something that exists just outside the boundaries of human experience. Witnesses often describe a profound sense of time distortion when observing these craft. Some report that the experience lasts only a few moments, while others swear that hours passed during their encounter. This sense of temporal dislocation may be tied to the sheer bewilderment of the sighting itself, or it could point to the nature of the craft's movement, whether the objects are manipulating time in ways we don't fully understand, or whether the mind, overwhelmed by the experience, struggles to process the event in real time. As the years have passed, the frequency of triangular sightings has remained steady, with reports continuing to trickle in from across the globe. Some believe these sightings are more likely to occur in rural or less populated areas, where there is less ambient light and fewer human-made structures to obstruct one's view of the night sky. Others argue that triangular craft might be a deliberate phenomenon, intentionally displayed in areas where they are more likely to go unnoticed or be dismissed as something else. The psychological effects of these sightings also play a role, as people are more likely to rationalize strange events when they occur in familiar settings or in isolation. In many cases, individuals who have witnessed triangular craft report feelings of uncertainty or confusion, as if their minds are unable to fully process what they've seen. Whatever the ultimate source of these triangular UFOs may be, they continue to stand as one of the most persistent and intriguing aspects of UFO lore. Whether they represent a classified military technology, an entirely new form of aerospace engineering, or something far more mysterious, these craft seem to exist on the fringes of human understanding. The persistent nature of these sightings, often corroborated by multiple witnesses, radar data, and sometimes even video footage, ensures that the mystery surrounding them remains unresolved. But as long as the night sky remains vast and filled with unexplained phenomena, the questions surrounding the silent, looming triangles will continue to drift in the collective consciousness, unanswered and hauntingly enigmatic. As the UFO phenomenon continued to unfold throughout the 20th century, it wasn't just the saucers and triangles that captured the imagination of the public. A lesser-known but equally mysterious category of sightings began to emerge: the cylindrical, orb-like, and shape-shifting craft. These anomalies did not follow the conventional patterns of known aircraft or celestial phenomena. Instead, they often appeared as luminous orbs, metal cylinders, or lights that pulsated, hovered, or darted through the sky with incredible speed and precision. Eyewitness reports from all over the world began to describe objects that moved with an unpredictable grace, shifting shapes, glowing intensely, or even merging into one another before disappearing into the night. These sightings not only defied the physics of conventional flight, but also suggested something far more elusive, something beyond the ordinary scope of human technology or understanding. One of the most compelling and widespread accounts of cylindrical and orb-like UFOs occurred during the 1940s and 1950s, when Foo Fighters were reported by Allied pilots during World War II. These objects, described as glowing orbs or cigar-shaped craft, were seen frequently by pilots over European and Pacific theaters. The objects were often described as following fighter planes in seemingly intelligent patterns, matching their movements and speed, but with no visible propulsion system. These sightings, though initially dismissed as atmospheric phenomena or optical illusions, persisted even after the war ended, and the reports became a staple in UFO lore. In some instances, pilots claimed the objects moved in ways that no known aircraft could, accelerating instantly or even performing maneuvers that would have been impossible for a human pilot to survive. Cylindrical UFOs, in particular, have been a point of fascination for researchers. These objects are often reported as long metallic cylinders, with no wings, propellers, or visible exhaust systems. Their shapes suggest a highly efficient aerodynamic design, yet the behavior of these objects defies known aviation principles. In some cases, witnesses describe these cylinders as having smooth, reflective surfaces, often changing colors or glowing in different shades as they moved across the sky. The objects are frequently described as silent or emitting a low hum, but what sets them apart from conventional craft is their ability to defy the natural laws of physics. These cylinders have been reported to hover at low altitudes for extended periods, before suddenly accelerating or disappearing into the horizon with lightning speed. Similarly, glowing orbs are perhaps the most commonly reported UFO shape. Unlike the saucers or triangles, which are often described as solid structure craft, orbs appear as glowing balls of light, sometimes small, other times the size of a car or larger, hovering, darting, or hovering silently in the sky. The orbs are particularly famous for their ability to change color, often shifting from white to red, blue, or green. Some witnesses report that the orbs seem to communicate with one another, moving in a way that appears intentional, like a group of intelligent beings operating in perfect coordination. Others describe the orbs as responding to human interaction, moving when they are watched or approaching observers, when they seem to be drawn in by their gaze. In many reports, the orbs are seen hovering for extended periods before disappearing without a trace, sometimes dissolving into the night or flashing out of sight in an instant. While many of these sightings have been written off by skeptics as natural phenomena, such as ball lightning, meteorological anomalies, or even misidentified aircraft, The consistency of the descriptions across both time and geography suggests something far more complex. Eyewitnesses consistently report similar shapes, behaviors, and movements that do not align with any known atmospheric or man-made object. The challenge for scientists and investigators lies in explaining these encounters without resorting to simple dismissals. The orbs, cylinders, and shape-shifting lights appear with such regularity that they cannot all be attributed to the same type of misperception or hoax. Moreover, the interactions reported by witnesses, especially the sense that these objects may be aware of human observers or may even be drawn toward them, suggest something intentional, something far more intelligent than random chance. Some researchers have speculated that these sightings might be indicative of advanced technologies that manipulate energy or matter in ways that are beyond current human capabilities. For example, the behavior of orbs has been linked to the possibility of electromagnetic fields or plasma phenomena that can create highly concentrated energy. Some theorists suggest that these orbs are some form of advanced propulsion system, utilizing an unknown method of moving through the air without the need for conventional engines or fuel. This concept aligns with certain fringe theories about anti-gravity or zero-point energy, both of which suggest that it might be possible to manipulate gravitational fields and electromagnetic forces to create a form of propulsion that appears to defy the laws of physics. In addition, there are those who argue that these anomalous objects may be not just craft, but probes or surveillance devices, sent either by extraterrestrial civilizations or by advanced human groups from secret military programs. The theory suggests that these orbs and cylinders are not necessarily piloted, but rather autonomous or semi-autonomous devices, like drones, intended for reconnaissance, exploration, or observation. The movements of these objects, often described as slow and deliberate, suggest a level of control that might be consistent with an unmanned device rather than a crude spacecraft. Psychologists also offer interesting perspectives on why these objects may be perceived as particularly mysterious. Unlike the more solid and structured flying saucers or triangles, the orbs and cylinders lack any immediately identifiable features. No windows, no wings, no obvious propulsion mechanisms. They seem to float effortlessly, shifting and pulsing in the sky, often in ways that defy natural laws. This lack of physical structure invites the mind to fill in the blanks, to wonder whether these objects are natural or man-made, alive or inanimate. Some witnesses report a sense of interaction, as though the objects were responding to their thoughts or actions. This suggests that the experience of witnessing such an object may be influenced by the human mind, which seeks meaning and intention in everything it encounters. The glowing, pulsating nature of these objects creates a visual impression that feels almost sentient, adding to the sense that these are not just random phenomena, but intelligent entities. Whether these cylindrical and orb-shaped UFOs are advanced technology, atmospheric phenomena, or something entirely outside our understanding remains an open question. What is clear, however, is that their continued appearance in sightings across the world suggests that there is something profoundly intriguing about their form and behavior. These objects, silent, glowing, shifting, and seemingly aware, represent one of the most enduring and enigmatic aspects of the UFO mystery, challenging our perceptions of flight, physics, and the very nature of the universe itself. As long as these anomalous objects continue to appear in the night sky, they will remain a symbol of the unknown, inviting us to look up and ask, what are they, and what is their purpose in the grand scheme of things? As the 20th century progressed, and the UFO phenomenon continued to gain traction, it was not only the shape or flight characteristics of the objects that drew attention, but also the reactions of governments, military agencies, and the media. The question of what these craft were, and whether they represented a genuine threat to national security, became a central concern for many countries. In the United States, the government's response to UFO sightings shifted dramatically over time, reflecting both the growing public interest and the increasing pressure from military and intelligence agencies. This intersection of secrecy, official investigations, and media coverage helped shape how UFOs were perceived and the narrative that continues to this day. During the early years of UFO sightings in the late 1940s and early 1950s, many military officials and government entities took the report seriously, even if they struggled to explain the phenomena. The Cold War, which was defined by fear of espionage and nuclear warfare, created an atmosphere of heightened sensitivity to anything that might threaten national security. As sightings of flying saucers and other unexplained objects increased, officials in the U.S. military were concerned that the phenomena might be the result of advanced technology from the Soviet Union or another foreign adversary. This led to the formation of the U.S. Air Force's first formal investigation into UFOs, Project Sign, in 1948. The goal of this project was to assess whether UFOs posed any potential threat to national security. Initially, Project Sign was primarily focused on collecting reports and analyzing the physical characteristics of UFO sightings. The goal was not to prove or disprove the existence of extraterrestrial visitors, but to determine whether these objects could be linked to Soviet technology. Many early UFO sightings were dismissed as misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, or natural phenomena like meteors or atmospheric phenomena. However, as more reports came in from reliable witnesses, such as pilots, military personnel, and radar operators, the project's conclusions became less clear-cut. Some of the early memos from the project's officers indicated that the sightings were far more puzzling than expected, and that they could not be easily explained by conventional means. In fact, some reports even suggested that the UFOs demonstrated flight characteristics that were beyond the capabilities of known aircraft at the time. The lack of a clear explanation for these reports led to growing interest in the possibility that the objects might be of extraterrestrial origin. In early drafts of Project Sign's findings, some officials proposed that the objects might be alien craft. However, this conclusion was quickly suppressed by higher-level officials, who feared the political consequences of publicly acknowledging such a possibility. Instead, the Air Force's official stance remained one of skepticism, and the project evolved into Project Grudge in 1949, which took a more dismissive approach to the phenomenon. Project Grudge largely focused on debunking UFO sightings and reassuring the public that the objects were nothing more than misidentifications, optical illusions, or psychological effects. By the mid-1950s, the U.S. Air Force launched a more comprehensive investigation known as Project Blue Book. This project, which ran from 1952 to 1969, became the most well-known and publicized government investigation into UFOs. Over the course of its 17 years of operation, Project Blue Book collected over 12,000 UFO reports, analyzing each one for possible explanations. The project's findings were often inconclusive, with many sightings categorized as unidentified. Of the cases investigated, a significant portion could be explained by conventional means, such as aircraft, weather phenomena, or astronomical events. However, a small percentage of the reports remained unresolved, leaving them classified as unidentified and fueling public speculation. While the U.S. government's official stance on UFOs remained skeptical, the release of certain reports and findings only fueled the mystery. Among the most notable examples was the 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident, where radar operators at Andrews Air Force Base tracked several unknown objects, flying at high speeds and performing erratic maneuvers. Multiple pilots also observed the objects, which appeared to be intelligently controlled. The media coverage of this event, along with other similar sightings, led to increased public interest in the UFO phenomenon, and many began to wonder why the government was so reluctant to offer a clear explanation. The media's role in shaping the public's perception of UFOs during this period cannot be overstated. As the UFO phenomenon became more widespread, news outlets, particularly newspapers and magazines, began to report extensively on sightings. The coverage was often sensationalized, with headlines depicting UFOs as either alien visitors or secret government experiments. This created a feedback loop in which public interest in UFOs was continually stoked by media reports, while the government, increasingly concerned about public panic, maintained its position of official indifference or skepticism. This duality, where the government kept UFO investigations classified or downplayed, while the media fueled public curiosity, created a unique dynamic that persists to this day. The psychological and cultural impact of UFO reports also played a significant role in shaping how people perceived these mysterious objects. Many individuals who reported sightings often felt a deep sense of awe, fear, or wonder at what they had witnessed. The idea of encountering something beyond our world stirred imaginations and inspired both fear and fascination. Governments, recognizing the potential for panic or public unrest, worked diligently to maintain a narrative that UFOs were either harmless or non-threatening. But this also led to a growing divide between what the public believed and what the government was willing to acknowledge. For decades, the lack of transparency and the contradictory messages from officials only deepened the mystery and fueled conspiracy theories. As we moved into the latter half of the 20th century and the new millennium, the U.S. government's position on UFOs began to shift once again. In the 2000s, declassified documents and video footage from military encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, began to surface, revealing that the phenomenon was being taken more seriously by the Department of Defense than had previously been acknowledged. The 2004 sighting of a tic-tac-shaped UFO by U.S. Navy pilots, along with the release of official footage from the Pentagon, signaled a new openness to discussing UFOs within the military establishment. This was followed by the formation of the U.S. government's UAP task force, later succeeded by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, in 2022, further acknowledging the persistent and unexplained nature of these sightings. These revelations have led to a shift in public perception, with many now viewing UFOs not as a subject for ridicule or conspiracy theories, but as a legitimate and ongoing mystery, one that the government, albeit reluctantly, is beginning to address more openly. As the mystery deepens and more information becomes available, the relationship between government, media, and the public continues to evolve, with transparency being balanced against national security concerns. The question remains, what exactly is being hidden, and why is it that even today, the government still refrains from offering definitive answers about what we are truly witnessing in the sky? Perhaps, in the end, it is the very nature of the mystery itself that keeps us looking up, wondering, questioning. As the 21st century unfolded, the UFO phenomenon began to take on new dimensions. With the rise of technology, more sophisticated observation tools, and an ever-growing online community of UFO enthusiasts, the investigations into unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, began to change. No longer just a topic for government agencies and secret military projects, UFOs, now often referred to as UAPs, began to be studied more openly by independent researchers, scientists, and even the public. This shift in perspective marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing mystery surrounding these strange objects, as more data and sightings were captured than ever before. With the proliferation of cameras, smartphones, and drones, sightings of unusual objects were no longer limited to eyewitnesses. Now, videos and photographs of UAPs were being shared globally in real time. The modern age has seen an explosion of UAP sightings, with thousands of reports flooding in each year from civilian witnesses, military personnel, and commercial pilots. A significant shift occurred in 2017 when the New York Times published a groundbreaking story revealing that the U.S. government had been secretly investigating UAPs through a program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, ATIP. This revelation marked a moment of reckoning for the UFO phenomenon, as it was the first time in decades that the U.S. government openly admitted to studying these phenomena in an official capacity. The program was responsible for investigating thousands of sightings, and its work culminated in the release of several videos showing U.S. Navy pilots encountering fast-moving, seemingly impossible objects. One of the most well-known pieces of evidence from these investigations came in 2004, when two Navy pilots, Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, encountered a tic-tac-shaped UFO off the coast of California. The object, which was tracked on radar, exhibited astonishing flight capabilities, moving at speeds that far exceeded the performance of any known aircraft. The pilots described the UFO as having no visible means of propulsion, and its movements were so rapid and erratic that they seemed to defy the laws of physics. The video of this encounter, known as the Tic Tac video, was eventually declassified and released to the public, sparking renewed interest in the phenomenon. This encounter is not unique, though. More and more military personnel have come forward to share their experiences with UAPs. In recent years, multiple videos have been released by the Pentagon, each showing objects that defy explanation. One of the most famous pieces of footage is from 2015, when Navy pilots filmed an object referred to as the Fleur 1 video. The object, which appears to rotate in midair, moves at incredible speeds, and despite appearing to have no visible propulsion, it remains stationary and hovers in place for extended periods. These videos, often released by credible sources, such as the Department of Defense, have led many to believe that these sightings are not just isolated incidents or misunderstandings, but a phenomenon that deserves further attention and study. The new openness of military organizations regarding UAPs is a dramatic departure from the secrecy that characterized much of the 20th century's UFO investigations. After decades of official denials and ridicule, the military's acknowledgement of these phenomena has led to a broader discussion about their potential origins. Some experts now argue that these UAPs may be evidence of foreign adversaries' technological advancements, while others remain convinced that these objects could be of extraterrestrial origin. The lack of a definitive answer leaves room for speculation, but it also highlights the persistence of the mystery. Researchers and independent investigators have been quick to analyze the declassified videos and documents, hoping to gain a better understanding of what these objects are and where they come from. The U.S. government's formation of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena UAP Task Force in 2020, and later the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office AARO in 2022 demonstrated a commitment to studying these mysterious sightings in a more systematic way. The goal of these organizations is to analyze reports from military and civilian sources, gather data from scientific instruments, and attempt to develop a better understanding of the UAP phenomenon. This increased transparency has allowed for a more scientific approach to the investigation of UFOs, moving away from sensationalism and conspiracy theories and toward a more data-driven, evidence-based study. One of the most compelling aspects of the recent surge in interest surrounding UAPs is the diversity of the individuals and organizations involved in the investigation. No longer confined to the realms of government and military experts, UAPs have become a topic of serious academic inquiry. Renowned scientists, physicists, and former military officials have joined the conversation, offering theories and conducting research to explore the nature of these mysterious objects. The emerging collaboration between government agencies, private industry, and independent researchers has helped to foster a new level of credibility and seriousness surrounding the phenomenon. With more rigorous data collection methods, it is hoped that the mystery surrounding UAPs may one day be solved, or at least better understood. Another key factor in the resurgence of interest in UAPs has been the rise of social media and the Internet. Platforms such as YouTube, Reddit, and Twitter have created spaces where people can freely share their sightings and engage in discussions with like-minded individuals. These online communities have helped to gather a vast collection of video footage, photographs, and personal accounts from individuals who might otherwise have remained silent. This democratization of information has allowed for a global exchange of ideas and data, leading to new discoveries and theories. It has also created a space where individuals can feel more comfortable coming forward with their experiences, knowing they are not alone in their curiosity or concern. The conversations surrounding UAPs are no longer confined to fringe theorists or conspiracy groups. Mainstream media outlets have also begun to take the phenomenon seriously, with major news organizations reporting on sightings and government investigations. This growing acceptance of the UAP mystery has also brought forth a shift in public opinion. While belief in UFOs and extraterrestrial life remains a topic of debate, there is an increasing willingness to entertain the possibility that we are not alone in the universe, and that the objects we see in the sky may be far more than mere curiosity. With new technology, more transparency, and a growing willingness to explore the unknown, the study of UAPs has entered a new era. As governments and military agencies continue to release more information and independent researchers conduct their own investigations, the hope is that we may one day have answers to the long-standing questions surrounding these strange aerial phenomena. Until then, the mystery continues to unfold, drawing in new generations of observers, each eager to solve the puzzle of what is truly flying in our skies. As we reflect on the decades of UFO sightings, investigations, and evolving theories, it's clear that the mystery surrounding unidentified aerial phenomena remains one of the most enduring and captivating puzzles of our time. From ancient civilizations' starry observations to modern military encounters, the quest for understanding has spanned centuries. Yet, despite technological advancements and increasing transparency from government agencies, we find ourselves no closer to a definitive explanation. Each new sighting, every declassified document, and every intriguing piece of evidence only deepens the mystery, leaving us to grapple with the possibilities. The allure of UFOs lies not only in their physical characteristics, but also in the psychological impact they have on us as a society. They challenge our understanding of the universe, question the limits of human technology, and stir within us a deep-seated curiosity about the unknown. For some, the question of whether these objects are extraterrestrial in origin remains central, while for others, the phenomenon represents the limits of our scientific knowledge, waiting to be unlocked. Whether we ever fully understand what these objects are or where they come from, the pursuit of that understanding will continue to captivate and inspire future generations. As we reflect on the mystery of UFOs, it's clear that the phenomenon is far from a simple question of extraterrestrial visitors or military secrets. Over decades, UFO sightings have evolved from isolated reports to a complex, multifaceted enigma that spans both the physical and the metaphysical. What began as a trickle of unexplained lights in the sky has grown into a global conversation that intersects with science, government transparency, cultural shifts, and even the realm of the paranormal. Whether seen as extraterrestrial technology, advanced military experiments, or something far more elusive, UFOs remain a central piece of the puzzle that challenges our understanding of the world around us. In recent years, the emergence of new technologies and the increased openness of governmental investigations have reignited interest in these phenomena. The mystery surrounding UFOs is no longer confined to fringe theorists or sensational headlines. It has entered the realm of serious inquiry, attracting scientists, former military officials, and ordinary citizens alike. Yet, despite all the data, videos, and witness testimonies, the question remains unresolved. As we continue to look to the skies, the enigma persists, inviting us to wonder, what is out there, and why do these mysteries endure?